obviously I'm going for monkeyfish.
Do I have a choice?
No. I stole it.
Okay. Old pendulous breast herself.
Chase you through a cave. I know you do outside.
And we're going to talk about how wrong you are after this.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Monsters Lounge. I'm Jeni.
And I am Tressa.
Tressa.
Hey, I'm switching it up a little bit. What?
You are. I like it. I like it.
I don't know.
always
I'm
want
going back
to, and then I don't.
No, I'm
Yeah.
going back to shake and bake. And I helped. So what's going on, Jeni?
Hang on, let the pet birds do their thing.
I swear to God.
Listen, I have shark news.
Do tell.
I do. It's about 2 months old, but it's still shark news.
We're waiting.
Okay, so this affects us a great deal because of our love of this place. In Mammoth Cave, they discovered a new ancient shark species. In Mammoth Cave, they were like poking around in the little places in the depths of Mammoth Cave, and they found these fossilized teeth and other such evidence, and they've decided that it is called the McGinnis nail tooth shark because
Does it have spiky nail teeth?
Yes, but like opposite. So it's like the flat head of the nail is like the back teeth. So apparently for, I don't know, chewing.
Okay.
as one does with teeth. But here's the fun thing. They're like 3 to 4 inches long.
What? They're little tiny prehistoric sharks? Everything bigger than. Why is it so tiny?
They were tiny. So they've been nicknamed the chipmunk shark.
Adorable. I can't wait for their Christmas album.
Me too. It's going to be so good, and you're going to hear it so often.
I can't wait.
Did you watch anything TikTok related or
yeah, I saw a couple of really good on theme TikToks, and I completely forgot what they were, and I've been racking my brain.
Yay.
And I came up with nothing. Sorry.
That's perfect. And
I did see one about a new whale that was a new dolphin that has the same markings as a killer whale, but this whale was discovered like a few years ago, but everyone's going nuts about it because they just heard about it. And I was like, oh, that's okay. That's it.
Is that the one with the really small like flukes?
Sure.
Okay.
Once I found out the story was like 3 years old, I was like, don't. Yuck. Old.
Old and related to nature. Oh, gross.
Yucky.
All right, listen. We're going to go ahead and talk about our guest tonight.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about this. We've been at a couple of conferences with him, and he's just been a very fun individual to be around. Not a lot of chance to talk to him before now, so this is very excited. I'm very excited. This is exciting.
We're all very excited. Yes.
That's how language works. All right. So Vince Kelien, yeah, it is our guest tonight. He is the star of Beacon TV's new series, Urban Investigator. He started his explorations of, he's been to like 400 haunted and abandoned places.
Are there that many?
Apparently. Yeah, apparently so. So he started off at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, which I don't know why, but like it makes me think of a Weezer song and a very scary place all at the same time, like Beverly Hills. But like I keep singing Waverly Hills in my head. So anyway, he was leading tours. He worked on some of the restoration there. He did their social media accounts, all sorts of things. And His experiences there led to his interest in documenting the history and mystery of some of these spaces. He finds beauty even in ruins. So please help me welcome Vince.
Hello.
Hello, Vince.
It's so funny, the Weezer
Hello.
reference, because there is a so back in the day when I wasn't doing any of that, I was just a haunt actor at one point in time. So the local radio station 99.7 DJX in Louisville, Kentucky, had re-recorded it to Waverly Hills.
What?
Strictly because every year they would do a tour at like 5 a.m. Why it was 5 a.m. is beyond me. But they would do it at 5 a.m. and they would have like radio contest winners and stuff show up, and they did like a whole a big tour thing going on.
5 a.m. is so weird because it's not like late at night, but it's also like not the morning. It's like,
well, it was also on Halloween, so
it doesn't make it less weird.
It's still strange. And also contest winners.
Yeah, so they would win a contest on the radio, and then they would come out and join them on a ghost hunt at 5 a.m.
Like 4 a.m. that seems more reasonable.
Is that actually winning? Because I'm not sure that's actually, if I got to get up and go someplace.
I don't know. If you would talk to some of the contest winners, they'd be like, I didn't even go to bed yet.
that checks out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad that was confirmed, that the song running through my head every single time I saw that was
Jeni.
I know that's what it is, or just really like words.
Yeah, so it'd just be the two that would the man and the woman, they re-recorded the song, and it would be like 4 or 5 or 6 different people in the background. It would just be like Waverly Hills, and they would just like yell it. It was hilarious.
I'm sure you couldn't tell the difference. Just the lyrics were different.
Yeah, not at all. Not people yelling in the background. So tell us about Waverly Hills then. That's my first question.
I don't currently work there. I've been at Waverly on and off since 2010. And throughout the years, it's obviously what got me started into the paranormal. I had my first ever paranormal occurrence that I don't chalk up to being an imaginary friend. And the first day that I started working there, and ever since then, it's just been my home away from home. I've cried in that building. I've slept in the building. I've talked to people that weren't there about my problems at home in that building. I've, all kinds of different things all at once. It's just, everyone that is a paranormal investigator that's close to a location is probably their home location. Normally they tend to fall in love with it, and that is mine.
Nice.
So
can I ask you a question? Was the imaginary friend just a throwaway line, or did you have a lot of imaginary friends? Not throwaway lines.
Did you have
I think I was 11, and I was living in Texas at the time. I had a weird back and forth from Texas to Kentucky when I was younger. And I was being a stupid boy, bored in Point, Texas, where there's nothing to do. You used to call it Pointless, Texas. Mm-hmm. And I was running up and down the hallway in the house, and I ran back to the back bedroom and went to jump on the bed. And when I turned around, there was a little girl crunched up over in the corner, and I didn't think anything of it. It scared the shit out of me, but I, getting a little bit older, I was like, I've seen things like that at Waverly and other locations where it was like spot on like that, and even during the day was weird. So I tend to chalk it up as an imaginary friend because I can't remember a lot from when I was that young, but yeah, I
was gonna say, like, in my head, imaginary friends, that's what the adults tell us that they are. But maybe they're not so much imaginary as corporeal, non-corporeal. So that's good. I like that. Go ahead, Jeni.
No, I like this because now I have to go apologize to the unicorn imaginary friend that I had.
Yeah, you
No,
should. Rude.
I know,
Well,
super rude.
I'm not sure if that's maybe you've seen one too many supernatural episodes.
Let me have my dreams.
Mm.
So I don't know very much about the actual investigations besides the one, maybe two that I've witnessed that were big group ones. Um, it- what do you do to prepare? What do you personally do to prepare for one of these investigations that you go on?
There's not a lot of preparation. I mean, a lot of the times I'm like late to it half the time. But there's not a whole lot to it for me really, because I don't and this isn't to impose or freak anybody out or piss anybody off. I might be in the doghouse after this with a lot of people, but that's fine. I don't believe in saging, so I mean that's not a part of my ritual. Saging is, I think we kind of talked backgrounds a little bit before we went live, and I have a Italian, German, and Native American background, and for someone who doesn't know shit about shit when it comes to Native American culture, I have family, that grew up with that. They have ancestors. I have ancestors. And saging is just not one of those things that should be practiced by people who is, and this is my own particular belief, shouldn't be practiced by regular white folk. It's especially since those people don't have the training or the necessity for it. So you can just, for me personally, you can push saging out of the way. It's touch and go. That getting ready for a paranormal investigation, I don't go into it with the mindset of that there are demons or that there are even ghosts or that there are anything there in general, because typically I've found that 95% of the time, if I'm goofing off or playing around or being a jackass or whatever the case, that's when things start to tend to happen. And that's kind of been my overall stance. Sometimes if you're looking for it, it'll happen. But 90% of the time for me, it's when I'm not expecting it. And something will happen, or things will come to play. Earlier when you were saying over 400 locations and yada yada yada, it's whenever I first started, when I left Waverly this last time and I started posting online and I started doing content, there was a very quick realization that ghost hunting was expensive. So so I took it upon myself to start urbexing, which is illegal. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So I realize the risk and I take the risk, but I also will remind anyone and everyone that I don't suggest urbexing to anyone. It is illegal. And if you are caught, the owner can be an asshole and can press charges against you and everything else. I will say though, that I do not add to the breaking and entering. I don't add the breaking to the entering because that completely dissolves my point of doing what I'm doing. Because I believe in restoration and preservation. It's a big passion of mine. So breaking a door down or picking a lock or breaking a window is not in my repertoire. But what it is I want the location owner to see the video, whether it's the state or it's the location owner. Maybe it's a private owned place, whatever the case, I want them to see it. And that sounds funny to some people, but for me, and they can press charges on me if they want to, but the point of it is that I want them to see the video, because they're being shown that there is interest in their location, whether it's an asylum or a hospital or whatever the case. So I want the location owners to see the beauty of the drone shot. I want them to see the beauty of walking down a dark hallway and suddenly you turn and there's this 100-year-old wallpaper, or that they didn't even know about, maybe because they haven't even been inside their own building. They bought it at auction, or and is letting it sit because they want it to crumble so they can use the land for something else. I want them to see it, to show them that there's for one, money to be made. And with that money to be made, you can put back into the location. And once that location is to your liking, then you can start pocketing money. That there is passion in seeing what is happening and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, there's a love not just for ghost hunting, because in my mind, ghost hunting is the last thing in the back of my brain. Hunting ghosts is not something that we're actually doing. It's talking to someone who used to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea, but that's the last thing in the back of my head. I want this room to get fixed up. I want this roof to be replaced. I want. And I know that sounds selfish, but in the long run, it's for everyone. And at some point in time, one of these location owners are going to see it. They're going to understand it. They're going to get it. And they're going to be like, you know what, dude? I've seen so many videos come out of my building now that I'm not putting up boards anymore. I'm putting up windows. Mm-hmm. I'm not putting up chains on the fence anymore. I'm cutting the grass and weed eating all the way to the building and putting doors on everything and making a ticket booth or making a website and getting people interested to come to my location. So there's passion and love for everything that I do, but there's some people that don't get it, some people that don't understand it. There's other people that simply urbex anything,
right?
Abandoned schools and
mm-hmm.
I saw one the other day that was an old babysitter. What do you call it? A nurse? Not
daycare.
An old daycare. They'll check out anything. My buddy AJ does that all the time. It's no shade to any of those people, but he's just like ruin photos. And I get it. I do, but
it's a different purpose.
A different thing for me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, those buildings are so stunning. I mean, we've seen, case in point. I mean, we were talking, to Greg and Kathy a couple of weeks ago about OSR and just how stunning that building is in the restoration. And, I'm a big fan of that in my hometown. We have a small, we have like the settling sort of community where all the houses have been redone, and it's beautiful. Sure. And you're absolutely right. These things are not replaceable.
Are you on your iPhone?
I am
on her iPhone.
It's the best camera. It's the best camera. Come on, get off my back. Listen, it's great.
All right.
That's
so when you're going to these places now, do you investigate sort of not investigate, but do research on the history before you go to the place, or do you feel it out and then go back and do history? And
Jeni, that's a great question. Let's get to that answer right after this.
For those of you naysayers, I want you to know how much I appreciate how many of you grabbed a hold of my small package after last week's show. It is out and available. You can get both of my books, The Other Side, A Guide to the Paranormal and Ghost Hunting, and my brand new book, Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness. Both books are out. One, of course, kind of a how-to ghost hunt book, and the other story book of strange supernatural occurrences all around the world. You can get your hand on my small package by just ordering it right off of my website. You can go right to paranormal60.com, scroll down on the front page there, or go to the shop and scroll down and you'll see our book bundle. And I was so humbled by the fact of how many men put their hands on my small package at the end of last week's show and bought it. It was great. It made me feel loved and wanted. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, Dave.
Everyone go get a hold of Dave's small package, baby.
And he just announced last week the package is going to get a little bit bigger this summer, maybe? Yeah.
Summer-ish.
Late
Dave
spring,
kills me,
summerish.
dude.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Love that guy.
So anyway, he's the best. I was gonna try to make some sort of joke about him being the worst. That's just not where my brain is right now. I miss him so
can't.
much. We haven't seen him in like 2 months, and it's been hard.
It's been a while for me too. I ain't seen Dave
Mm,
sometime since last year, I think. No, he's great though.
So the history. Do you research a place before you go into it, or have you heard about this place and that's why you end up there? How does that go?
So typically I get too excited when I hear of a location. So I go.
Let's go.
I typically just
I
pack up
like
and
that.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But
Yep, that makes me happy.
I will afterwards when I get done. I've explored it. I've shot what I wanted to shoot. I've ran the drone, whatever the case. I'll go home and I'll do a deep dive, and I'll dive till I can't no more. Typically, I stick with Wikipedia only because 90% of the time, that's tour guides and historians that upload to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Typically, people like me aren't going on to Wikipedia and uploading their own stories. So. So I typically do a deep dive through Wikipedia and a couple of other different sources, but it's that's pretty much how I end up doing things. Now, there's usually no ghost hunting on the urbexing side of things until something does happen, and if something does happen, then I don't have anything. I don't have any toys, no gadgets, no ghost hunting equipment. I do have them, but I don't have them.
You don't bring them.
Trips.
Yeah.
I typically use those and keep those for my public ghost hunts. So if people come to go to an urban investigations event, then I'll have those on hold for people to be able to use. But I need to get the music box fixed. Anyway, but so I'll typically keep those those kinds of things out of it. But there was a funny instance, and I don't know how much deep dive you've done into my videos or anything, but there's a location in Poughkeepsie, New York called the Hudson River State Hospital. And this place is, urbexers have named this hospital the Death Trap Hospital because every single time you turn a corner, there's a hallway that's just gone. Just completely not there. So urbexers have named it Death Trap Hospital. One of the coolest Kirkbrides you'll ever see. It's right up there with Trans-Allegheny. It's up there with Buffalo State Hospital. If you're confused about that one, that is the Richardson Olmsted complex, is the Richardson Hotel in Buffalo, New York. Danvers State Hospital, which is now Bradley Danvers. It's an apartment complex, which is wild. Very pretty complex. Has a big giant pool in the back and everything. Nice. But it's right up there with all of those. And right now, they're doing a lot of demolition, but the Kirkbride is being saved. The south wing is being, I believe, turned into a ruins garden. And I'm not sure exactly what's happening with the north wing, but I was walking down one of the hallways in the north wing. And mind you, this place is very guarded. It's very secure. There's cameras, there's security, there's police, everything. So I'm taking a big risk at this location, and not just my life, but my freedom. And I'm walking down this hallway, and I'm there with maybe you've heard of him or not, but I'm there with a buddy named Drew. Drew runs the Haunted Raven. So if you've ever heard or seen those events for the Haunted Raven or Raven photography, that's my buddy Drew. Once we got there, we knew it was a big location. We didn't realize how big. So we ended up splitting off to cover everything. So I'm walking down this hallway, and I want to point out that my daughter, she's 5, she's autistic. And actually she just turned 6. I apologize. But she would, anytime that we were walking, she'd hold my hand like this. something like this, and I'd wrap my hand around her wrist, and that's how we'd hold hands. So she would hold one finger, and I'd wrap my hand around the rest of it around her wrist, and that's how we held hands. I'm walking down the hallway, and I feel the exact same
Sensation.
So it freaked me out. I was like, how did Skylar get here? I turned around and there's nobody there, but the hand is holding for at least 10 seconds. So I wrapped my hand around the wrist like I would normally do with Skylar. And it was about 2 or 3 seconds later where I felt it just disappear.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So sometimes in these locations, things like that just happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's when you're least expecting it.
Do you ever go back and look for evidence or look for something with any of the equipment that you happen to prefer?
In a owned and active location, yes.
Okay.
And when I say active, I mean like someone owns it, someone is actively running investigations through it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Typically, I won't go back to urbexing locations because of the risk.
Right.
I've done it once. I got everything that I needed out of it. Yeah, so of course I would love answers.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm, to take a double risk is silly.
Yeah.
There's been very few times where I've taken said double risk. I took one with Kentucky Baptist State Hospital, and that place is being demoed as we speak.
Oh, wow.
I actually really tried. I'm in the shopper zone for a location for myself to open and renovate myself.
Nice.
And that was on the list. And state wasn't having it. They're in the middle of demo. I had been back to that location twice. And I'm trying to think. I've been to Gary several times. Gary, Indiana has several locations. Everything from high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, hospitals. Michael Jackson's actual birth hospital, with a couple other different locations. If you ever watched the really shitty remake of a Nightmare on Elm Street, they filmed all the boiler scenes at. They filmed some of the boiler scenes from that movie in the United Methodist Church in Gary.
I got to imagine Gary is just a wealth of locations for urbex because it's
yeah.
Well, it's also
terrifying in its own right.
Well, here's the thing too, is that all that's gone.
Oh, of course.
Right.
No, the locations are there, but as far as like the sure, like there's drugs and there's gangs and stuff like that, but all of that's like down to a minimum.
Yeah.
Oh, and Gary? Yeah, for sure.
For Gary, it's really toned down on crime. About the only crime they see is one of those locations getting burned.
Mm-hmm.
So Gary does see an influx of arson a lot, and the reason why is because these buildings are just sitting. Police don't do anything about it because there's so many urbexers, there's so many ghost hunters that are going in there that they don't bother anymore. So a lot of the times, a lot of these locations get lit up. Horseman High School has been lit 4 times in the last 2 years. I can't believe the building is still standing, but
that's wild.
It is very wild. But there's a lot of locations. There's funeral homes, there's hospitals, there's asylums, there's all kinds of different stuff. Probably St. Mary's Mercy is probably my favorite. Now that was Michael Jackson's birth hospital. That's the only way. If you put that in something, it's the only way your video is going to do well. Is if you put in there that it was, which is awful that, you would have to put a pedophile's name into a video to make it go do something. Yes, I'm
Thank you for the note.
I'm very vocal on things, and I apologize if someone doesn't agree, but they said that Whitney Houston was smoking crack for 10 years. And, chances are it's probably true. You know, you can only go so long without someone saying something about you for it to finally actually make sense to people. So, but it is what it is. But
so the hospital.
Sorry. I'm vocal and I apologize. I'll get into it. Thank God I don't get into politics because we
hospital.
But there's a lot when it comes to different locations and stuff like that. As far as the hospital is concerned, it's a very, very decaying place. It's full of asbestos. It's gross. It's nasty. It's my kind of place. It's normal people. That is not a normal place to be in. But remember what I told you, police just don't do anything about people going into these places. We're in Gary, Indiana. Me, Val, AJ, and his wife. And we pull up to this hospital. And there are police everywhere. Like there's cops everywhere. They're outside smoking cigarettes and eating donuts and shit. And we pull up to the hospital. We're like, what the fuck is going on here? So we kind of get out and we wave and they wave back. And we're like, okay. We just walk in. No problems. No issues. They don't look. They don't give us a second look. Not a care in the world.
Did you guys want a donut?
I mean, we'll go buy you more. But so we're, it come to find out later that the local PD station had burned down 5 years prior. They took a piece of the hospital.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, a lot of these hospitals will have like a over the street, like walkway, right?
Yeah,
so like,
sure.
there'll be multiple parts to the hospital, whatever, but you'll be driving down the street and you'll see this overhang and you'll see people walking in the walkway, whatever. They have one of those. It doesn't go over a street or anything, but they have one of those. And they barricaded one side and refurbished the rest of the hospital to turn it into their PD station.
Oh.
So the rest of the hospital is abandoned. But the other part of the hospital is their local PD station.
What a strange move.
But they don't care is the crazy part. Like they don't care. There's no way to get into their police department from this side of the hospital. There's no way to do that. But it's very wild in Gary. But
it's so bizarre. They're just like, oh, it's those guys doing that stuff again.
Yeah. So I
fun.
think they'll have a problem if they saw a bunch of taggers walking in. But
right.
They see a bunch of assholes with cameras and tripods.
Right.
They don't care.
Right. They see the equipment and they're like,
yeah. I bet they could have restored the other side and made it into offices. What is with everyone in offices and we
do not like offices.
I know, I don't have a problem with it. So I do have a moral majority, right? If you take a location that's abandoned,
there we go.
Turn it into anything. It could be a strip club. I don't give a shit.
Sure.
I don't care. It could be anything. But it's when I post these videos on TikTok and Facebook and everything, if I get a video that goes viral, it's always, and it's not really the offices, Crystal, I'm just giving you shit, but it's always, why couldn't they open this up for people who are homeless?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Maybe you agree, but I don't.
Why? Why not? Well, listen, let's pretend I don't care.
It's not that I don't. Obviously I care about my homeless community because there's so many of them. Dude, you drive through downtown Louisville and there are homeless people everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think to myself all the time, why don't they do something about this? Uh-huh. You wonder why homeless people act the way they do. I think homeless people get a bad rap, but you wonder why they do what they do is because they're stuck. They have no money, no means. They can't even take a shower to go get a job application. People are always saying, well, go get a job. Well, they can't take a shower for said interview, and a million different other things. I've always told myself, if I ever got so down low, if I ever got to the point to where I was homeless or was going to be homeless, I would find an abandoned location and I would clean it up, and I would clean out one room that was dry and had no problems and would do my thing until I got back up off my ass.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the problem with that, is that my only beef with a homeless camp is that I see it every single day. We have homeless camps in Louisville, Kentucky, and they don't stay in them.
Well, yeah, they get kicked out. I'm not supporting like, hey, you guys should camp out here. I'm saying, why not convert it into affordable housing or homeless shelters if you have the space?
I mean, if you have the space, sure, and I totally get that. But there's a hospital in Maysville, Kentucky. That's another really fun place to go. It's got all kinds of different stuff. It's a really cool place. They're turning it into low income housing. That's great for anyone who is bad off. That's wonderful, and I love every single part about that. My problem with that, and I'll tell you why, is because it doesn't work. It never works. Low income housing and homeless shelters and camps, they don't work. If you have ever in your life researched the Cecil Hotel,
Okay.
it does not work.
Oh, okay.
The Cecil Hotel is an insanely haunted location in the middle of California, and has been on Ghost Adventures, and has had all these stories. The woman drowned and the thing up on the top. It's basically the movie 1408 is what the Cecil Hotel is, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work. They're not even in operation, and there's homeless people that live in there that the state is providing their local water, which is not good. It's not filtered.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've been told, I don't know how true this is. The water was never refiltered after the woman was pulled out.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
So it just doesn't work. There's a guy on TikTok. I can't remember the tag, but he lives in the Cecil Hotel, and every single day he's got a new complaint. There's something wrong. Somebody got stabbed outside of his bedroom. Somebody got stabbed down the hallway. Someone got shot in the lobby. Stuff is going on at the Cecil Hotel every single day, and it's because it's low income housing. But it's not in operation, so nobody's paying anything. There's no rules. It's might as well be what is that movie called?
1408.
It might as well be Fight Club.
I really thought we were going back to 1408. Not to distract either of you from this conversation, but I'm gonna change this conversation.
Right after this message.
A vampire in Rhode Island?
A UFO crash in Connecticut?
A flying moose in Maine?
A haunted bridge that calls your name?
New England is weird.
Really weird.
Wicked Strange by Jeff Belanger and Frank Grace is your ticket to the bizarre. Ghosts, monsters, urban legends, and roadside oddities you won't believe until you see them.
So pre-order now on Amazon. It drops September 2nd.
Assuming the Black Dog of West Peak doesn't get you first.
Let's get strange.
Wicked Strange. Pre-order your copy now on Amazon.
I've been called bitch by 2 Freddy Kruegers in my lifetime, and Dave was one of them.
That's completely fair and reasonable. So, obviously, we're going to get back to some haunting sort of stuff in a second here, but by all means, everybody go out and do your research on anything that we've talked about this evening. And, we're a couple of goofs and a guy who explores abandoned buildings. So that's what we do. So what kind of the hand holding story is wild.
Yeah.
I would imagine that is that the wildest thing that you have encountered in some of your investigations, explorations?
I would say that that's probably, I mean,
it's wild.
yeah. I've had stories at Waverly, but I bunch them all up into one because there's so many. I was there every single day and so on and so forth. So it was all the time. But first time I ever went to Pennhurst, I had and obviously this is owned operation place. Was excited to explore everything, and not everything was open at the time. Now, from what I understand, everything will be open by the Paracon, but so that ought to be cool.
Yeah.
But was walking up to the Devon building, to the entrance that you can go into, and no one had been in it yet. I was the first one that shot off from the rest of the group, and had the camera up. I was ready. I hadn't pressed play yet. Like I said, shit happens when you're not expecting it, and a full-bodied apparition goes in front of the door. Now I can't make out anything, so it's more like a shadow.
Yeah.
And the typical ridiculous Amityville response that you could possibly ever get out in real time. You could hear it with your ears.
Yeah.
To which I just turned around and walked the other way.
You're like, okay.
With a very fast step.
Yeah. Noted. Good day,
Yeah.
sir. Tip of the cap. And
Have a
I'm
nice
leaving.
day.
Mhm. You know, we've talked to other people, and when something along those lines happens, they're like, oh, yeah, so I just stuck around. And both Tressa and I have gone, no, thank you.
No, that's not true. I mean, I'll stick around if I'm surrounded by people, because then it's like,
it won't be
get
me,
them
'cause I will
first.
be
Yeah.
I will be turning
I'm
around and
nobody.
walking.
You don't care.
Yeah. Now, you know, I don't typically walk away too much anymore. And I was early on checking out new locations from being away from Waverly. But yeah, I mean, that I was like, yeah, okay, somebody needs space.
Yeah.
Come to find out that there was no one in front of me. I was the first one to jump off and go somewhere else. So yeah, it was wild. My first day at Waverly, I was up there during the day, and I was helping put the maze together on the first floor for the haunt. And so we were putting up some drop panels and some plywood walls and stuff. And it was middle August. It's hot, shirts off, tool belts on, typical home improvement, X-rated, whatever could possibly happen at this point. And so I pack up everything, throw my shirt on, take off down the hallway, lock up, get out to the parking lot, pop my trunk, went to go put the tools in it, and I start hearing what sounds like a dodgeball hitting concrete. You've been to high school, you remember what they sound like.
Oh, very clearly.
I turn around, I look up at the building, and a red dodgeball comes bouncing out of the 4th floor solarium and down into the neighborhood. I left my shit in the parking lot and took off down the hill. I actually,
you know, they're playing dodgeball and they just want to hit you in the face. You got to get out now.
the only logical explanation, because the owners weren't there at the time, they were getting food. Nobody was there. We didn't have 24-hour security at the time. So the only logical explanation is that someone could have, you know, broken or, you know, whatever the case, but nobody was there. So I can't, you know, I still to this day can't imagine that someone was in the building while I was.
Yeah.
So,
plus a fully inflated dodgeball, those don't last.
Waverly is full of them though. People bring balls up to play with the kids and stuff like that.
Then in that case, it's fine.
I get down to the bottom of the hill and actually hit my car with the gate, left a big old gash in the hood and everything.
No.
Once I finally got it off, I turned around, that dodgeball's coming down the hill.
Oh,
and I can hear laughing, like it sounds like kids laughing at me.
Yeah, because you ran from a bunch of children.
Yeah. But that was my first real like experience. And I don't get much like that in today's setting. You know, I still try to debunk it and think that maybe somebody had broken in and I just didn't know that someone was in there while I was in there. But I feel like they would have done damage to the building because that's typically what people do when they get into
Yeah.
abandoned buildings. They break windows and all that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
there was no damage, whatever the case. But you know, it is what it is.
Do you have like a holy grail location? Maybe not even in this country, but somewhere, anywhere on the planet that you'd like to explore?
The the Cologne Cathedral in Germany.
Oh.
That or the I think it's called the Hedi. I think it's the Hedi Castle in the UK. I think.
Why those two locations?
So the first one is so it's a church, but the church itself has been it took 646 years to build.
Yeah. I love all
So
cathedrals.
so it's just the architecture is beyond this world, and
Yeah, insane.
we don't have structures like that in the US, and the ones that we did have are gone, and some of the ones that are close to it are either being demoed or might still kind of be there but not really. So it's a lot of FOMO, I think.
Yeah.
But there is for the castle in the UK, I'm trying to make sure that it's the right one. But so I think it's Hedi, but I'm oh no, okay, it's the Hever Castle in the UK. It's not Hedi. I don't know where I got Hedi from, but the Hever Castle and the Bodiam Castle are both Tudors, are both from the Tudor era.
Okay.
So there's a lot of history, and I deep dive into the Tudors all the time, and obviously we know King Henry VIII was basically an abomination to humans. With his 7 wives and not caring about any of them.
Constant beheadings. Yeah, well, maybe.
They have original documents of all those people, though. They have the diary of Anne Boleyn. They have the gloves of King Henry VIII. They have so much, and it's just abnormal for anyone, for any location in the U.S. to have these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to see a location that is so well preserved, that's a big part of it. It's and the same with with Hever Castle, or with the Cologne Cathedral. It's exactly the same. Everything is so preserved. Like, you can book your wedding there. You can book photography tours there. There's they do special events and stuff, but and I really want, for the Hever Castle, there's more to it than just the history for me. There's the architecture, but also their social media team is my age, and they're all a bunch of goofballs.
Nice.
They have one guy there that's in their like 70s that he's doing like the renegade on TikTok. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
I love that.
Now let me ask you, just on a because I got so psyched out about watching clips of this, but the rebuilding of Notre Dame, like all of the, did you watch any of that? Any of like the stone workers working on the pieces? Or
so the only thing that I've seen was clips from bystanders who were just filming like construction stuff happening while they were walking by or whatever, and being like and basically just saying, oh my God, they're actually doing something with Notre Dame, and this is like historical, and that's pretty much all that I've seen. I haven't really I haven't seen any kind of articles or anything yet. I haven't deep dived into it yet. So
I would recommend it. They did all of this really cool. I mean, they went back to like old techniques and everything.
Yeah.
And had to relearn medieval, like working with wood, and it's wild. It's so cool.
A lot of it, when you're deemed a historical landmark, you now get funds from your country or your state or whatever the case, and it has to be historically accurate, like to the T.
Yeah.
Wood has to be the same wood that's already in there. The stones have to be articulated the same way it would have been back then.
Yeah.
I love that. I know it's a huge pain in the ass for the people that own it, especially if it's like a smaller building and just a guy, but I love that they're keeping it up. You know, like, hey, I bought this weird building. Now I have to spend a fortune just to rebuild the roof.
Well, see, that's the cool thing about that kind of stuff. So if you buy a location and you want you need some kind of funding and you're not going to get it, and it's on the historical landmark registry, then you can get funds from the state or from the country or whatever the case, with no cost to you.
Oh, well then never mind. I think that's great. End of sentence.
But yeah.
So, talking about restoration and preserving some of these beautiful places, which, we pretty much universally across the paranormal world, everyone is in favor of either, of all of it, preserving the wildlife, preserving or like the wild spaces, the interiors, all of these things. Is there something that you would recommend that people can do, say, if they're these places really should be saved or whatever, if there's some sort of effort that they can make personally to do it, what would you recommend?
So I'll get some heat for this too.
Oh boy. Well, hang on.
Hold on. It's normal heat. It's fine. If you're
a jalapeno, not so much a habanero. We got it.
Right,
Go.
Yeah. So if you are buying a location, you're getting into a location with no way with not thinking about anything and how and what you're going to turn it into. Do not turn it into a tourist spot. Don't do it for the paranormal. Don't do it for tourist attractions. Do it for anything else. And the reason why is because it sounds like an amazing thing. Whenever I get a location, that's what it's going to be for. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to be sitting on it for 20 years until anything actually even happens. Waverly was sitting for 10 years before it really got into anything.
Oh, wow.
And it had already been abandoned for 20. So, I mean, it's going to be a long haul, but if you're buying a location with preservation and restoration in mind, there's 1,000,001 things that you can turn it into. You could turn it into an apartment complex. Bradley Danvers is world renowned, and it's a 5-star complex. It's like $4,000 a month for a 1-bedroom.
Excuse
Crazy.
me.
And it's in the middle of nowhere.
Get out of here.
It's wild. Danvers, Massachusetts is not a big place.
East Coast, get over yourself.
So if you can't afford to buy a building and you can't afford to rent an apartment in one of the restored buildings, would you recommend like contacting historical societies and maybe go volunteer to work at some of these places or clean them up?
So that's even trickier. That's even trickier
Cool.
Because, so with the show coming out in the summer, there's so many locations that we could do, but we have to have permission. It's TV, so we have to have permission. I haven't been doing a lot of urbex lately because of that reason.
Yeah.
We have to have permission. So like a lot of the times it's impossible to find an owner.
Oh, got it.
That's why I was doing urbexing to begin with, is because
you
couldn't get permission because you couldn't find the owner. It's not possible.
Right.
And when you did find the owner, getting them on the phone wasn't gonna work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, I mean, yeah, you could go through the whole rigmarole of calling your city's local vacant lot registry, and saying, hey, blah blah blah, this and that, this building is historical, it should be put on the historical registry, and you could maybe get somewhere with it, but it's probably not going to happen just because you can't get a hold of the owner. Right. But it was the same thing with the hospital here in Kentucky. They not Waverly, but Kentucky Baptist. It was impossible to get a hold of anybody. And trying to work out, and when you did find somebody, they had already tore down half the building.
Of course. That's when you're able to get a hold of them, because they're actually doing something.
So it's damn near impossible half the time. The best thing that I've found is that if you go into a location or, whatever the case, like I said, I do not condone urbexing. It's not good for you. There's asbestos and all kinds of different stuff you have to deal with. But if you find yourself doing it, clean up a room.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Clean up a room, take photos, take videos, put it out there for the public and saying, hey, look, this is what it could look like.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't do it. But if you're going to ignore me,
do that.
That's what you could do to, and maybe send them off to your local senator, maybe send them off to your local mayor, whatever the case, and say, hey, look, this place, blah, 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 blah. Hopefully you didn't see any no trespassing signs, because they can't get you that way.
Right.
But I went into this place, this is what it could look like. If you guys do something with it, I'd love to be a part of it. If you're not going to do something with it, how can I make more of it?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
So that's my suggestion.
We are at the top of the hour soon. Please plug the thing and the things that you want to plug.
So you can go to urbaninvestigator.com for literally everything, whether it is a public ghost hunt, which I have a lot of those. We have Fairfield County Infirmary, Madison Seminary, Indiana State Sanatorium, and a new one that was just added, Randolph County Infirmary, for this year. And we just finished up with Rhodes Hotel. We did have one at Pine Lawn Manor, but that one fell through. There was low ticket sales. I believe that it was due to prom and the time of year. Everyone was busy.
Oh, they were holding prom there.
Yeah. That's nice. just prom over the United States in general.
Yeah.
But for streambeacontv.com, you can use code URBEX10 for 10% off when you sign up. My show will be out in the end of the summer. I currently have a feature on Beacon right now for the first episode of Searchers Afterlife with Shane Pittman and Josh Purvis. I stream every single night on Twitch. So if I'm not exploring the ruins, I'll give you the spill real quick.
Yeah.
When someone comes into the stream, hi, my name is Vince. I'm an urbexer and a paranormal investigator. And when I am not exploring the ruins or talking to what I believe are to be deceased people, I play Dead by Daylight on Twitch.
Nice.
I like it.
Beautiful.
So yeah, every single night, I'll probably actually jump on after we're done here.
Fantastic. Now we have something to do while I'm editing. That's great.
Exactly. Vince, please stick around for a sec so we can say thank you again right after our credity things, and thank you so much for being on. And I don't know where Tressa's going at this moment in time, but
and she's like going to eat the backside of her camera.
Yeah, delicious.
Just hang on to your ears, because things are about to get left.
Oh, I just needed to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Everybody else, thanks for watching, and check out our socials and stuff and buy our merch and thanks for joining us on the Monsters Lab.